Hello and welcome to another session of the My Solo 401k Financial Weekly YouTube webinar series. We're just testing the audio and we're getting started here momentarily. Thank you so much for joining. All right, the audio looks great. If you're on YouTube, you can chat over questions and we'll go through the questions at the end of the slides. Please like and subscribe. If for more videos like this, and if you find this helpful, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much. So just to highlight some of the resources before we jump in, we have a community where we host a daily Zoom call at this same time, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. You can find us at mysolo401k.net/my community. It's totally free to join. Like I said, we have a daily Zoom call. We have 24/7 forums. So we have a ton of resources to learn and to share the knowledge. So with today's session, we're going to be focusing on whether or not you can invest a solo 401k in a certificate of deposit. And then this time next week, we'll be having another more deep dive session, specifically talking about the step-by-step procedures to invest in a certificate of deposit via an account at Fidelity. So before we turn to the substance, we just want to highlight that the presentation is being provided for educational purposes only, should not be construed as tax, legal, or investment advice, nor as a solicitation. When making an investment decision, please consult with your tax attorney and financial professional. So again, today's topic is just about investing a solo 401k and a certificate of deposit. Of course, to put it in context, if you've been following our YouTube channel, we recently talked about the banking crisis, specifically with Silicon Valley Bank going into receivership with the FDIC, talked about the FDIC and SIPC coverage, and of course, just in the broader context with the increase in interest rates, we've certainly seen more interest from our community and our clients of investing their solo 401k funds in a certificate of deposit. So we want to first just confirm that yes, in addition to investing in equities like stocks and mutual funds, as well as with our plan, the ability to invest in alternative investments like real estate, tax liens, notes, precious metals, a solo 401k plan may also be invested in a certificate of deposit. So the steps to invest a solo 401k in a certificate of deposit would be to first open a bank or brokerage account under the name and EIN of the solo 401k at a bank or brokerage that offers certificate of deposit investment options. So as part of our onboarding process, we don't hold any of our customers' money, but we're helping our clients open accounts at the bank or brokerage of choice. We are obtaining an employer identification number specifically for the plan from the IRS. So now the IRS understands that this employer identification number is associated with the 401k. So to the extent that there's any interest that's earned on that certificate of deposit that is reported to the IRS, for example, using a 1099 INT, the IRS will understand that this interest is being earned on a tax-deferred basis inside of a solo 401k account. So we're very hands-on in helping clients get the account set up, obtaining the EIN number, et cetera, et cetera. So step two will, of course, be funding that account. So there's different ways that one can fund a solo 401k account. One would be making contributions. So a solo 401k plan has the highest contribution limits for any defined contribution plan that's available to self-employed individuals. For example, for 2022, one can contribute as much as $66,000 or even $73,500 if you're 50 or older. That's one of the top reasons clients are setting up accounts with us. And we're helping clients every day, educate them on those contribution rules so they can determine how much they can contribute. And those contributions could be made with our plan on a pre-tax basis to reduce taxable income, or on a Roth or even Mega Backdoor Roth basis, where one has the potential for tax-free growth. The other way to fund a solo 401k account would be by rolling over funds from a pre-existing retirement account. So of course, that's going to have to be an account that's eligible to be rolled over to a 401k. So for example, that would mean a former employer plan or a non-Roth IRA. So it is possible to roll over funds from an existing employer plan. So for example, if you have a day job and you have money in your current employer plan, but typically you're not able to do so until you're at least 59 and a half years of age. There are some exceptions, but the general rule is it's got to be former employer. And of course, under the Roth IRA rules, one cannot transfer money from a Roth IRA to any type of 401k. So it would have to be a non-Roth, so a pre-tax, a traditional IRA. So now we've got the account open at a bank or brokerage that allows for investment options. The account is funded by making contributions or rolling over funds. And now it's time to step 3, invest in the certificate of deposit. Of course, that investment needs to be titled under the name, and to the extent that the bank or brokerage is asking for it, the EIN of the plan. Because like I mentioned up above, right, to the extent that any type of interest income is reported to the IRS, it's going to be important that the financial institution has the EIN that's associated with the solo 401k, so that can be listed on the 1099 INT, so that the IRS understands that the interest is being earned on a tax deferred basis inside your solo 401k account. So that, again, putting it in the context, in the current environment, that oftentimes the question will come up, are solo 401k certificate of deposit investments insured? And so the answer is that it depends on whether those solo 401k investments type, it depends on the asset type as well as the account where the investment is held, right? Whether it's a bank or brokerage account. So let's look at this question from both angles. So in terms of bank accounts, right? This could be a bank account at a bank, or it could be an account at a credit union. There is federal insurance coverage for banks. For FDIC member banks, there's federal deposit insurance coverage up to $250,000. And that does cover certificate of deposit investments held in deposit accounts at an FDIC insured institution. The coverage will cover self-directed 401k plan accounts, which of course for all of our clients, it is a self-directed plan. The coverage is calculated per institution. And when calculating that coverage limit, one must aggregate and include any other retirement account balances at the same bank. So if you have a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA or a SEP IRA at that same bank, you'd have to aggregate and include to see if that $250,000 threshold has been met. Now, you would exclude any non-retirement account balances, like a personal account or a joint account at the bank. And then there's parallel coverage. It's not under the FDIC, but there's parallel coverage for credit unions, which is referred to as NCUA coverage. Now, looking at the question from a brokerage account perspective, FDIC insurance doesn't cover amounts in a brokerage account. Instead, there is something called SIPC insurance. So the coverage limit there goes up to $500,000 with a $250,000 limit for cash. So that coverage is not protecting against the risk of failure of that SIPC member brokerage, like say Fidelity or Schwab. It does protect against the risk of failure of the brokerage, but it doesn't protect against the decline in the value of the securities, right? For example, if you get bad investment advice. So a certificate of deposit under the SIPC and insurance coverage terms is going to be considered to be a security, right? So it's part of that securities limit. Just like with FDIC insurance, it's calculated per institution. Now, what's interesting is that in calculating the coverage, one does exclude the retirement account balances that one has at the same brokerage. And of course, like the FDIC insurance, one does exclude the non-retirement account balances. Lastly, it's noteworthy that certain brokerages do offer excess SIPC insurance coverage. For example, Fidelity and Schwab, they talk about their excess coverage that they have through Lloyd's of London. And like I mentioned at the outset, this time next week, we're going to be hosting another webinar where we're going to talk about even in more detail the step-by-step procedure to be able to invest in a certificate of deposit through a brokerage account at Fidelity. So stay tuned for that one. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you get notifications and access to the recordings, et cetera, et cetera. So here we have a chart that really summarizes what we talked about in terms of the insurance coverage, right? So if you look at first the asset type, right? So certificate of deposits, the account type, is it at a bank that's an FDIC member bank? Is it at a credit union that's an NCUA member credit union? If yes to either of those, there's coverage up to $250,000 per institution. If it's a brokerage account, then the coverage is going to fall under the SIPC, assuming it's an SIPC member brokerage account. And there, the coverage is up to $500,000 with a $250,000 cash limit. So as I mentioned, we're going to be hosting a session this time next week on the YouTube channel here. So please subscribe. You'll get notifications and access to the recordings. We're going to really go deep dive into investing a self-directed solo 401k Fidelity brokerage account in certificates of deposits, CDs. So that takes us to the end of the slides we wanted to go through. Again, just to highlight the resources, we host a Zoom call every day, same time, same place in our community, mysolo401k.net/my community. So it's at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. All are welcome. It's free to join. We have 24/7 forums where there's a lot of good conversation about different topics. So both great ways to learn and to share the knowledge. So we encourage you to engage and participate. And thank you so much for attending today's session. If there are questions, don't hesitate to chat it over. Please like and subscribe to this video. We'd really appreciate that. And please continue to engage. We'll give it a minute to see if any questions come up. So yeah, again, if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. Okay, well, thank you so much for all the good engagement. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, take care.